We've got an engine swap in the shop today as we get this Pro Touring pony ready for a brand new 351. Today on Horsepower TV. It made over 400 horsepower on our engine dyno. Now we'll get ready to drop the 351 Windsor into our Project Pro Touring pony. And we'll give you some engine swapping tips along the way. Our race of the week takes you to NORWALK for an historic IHRA top stock shootout. Plus a quick take on the latest in horsepower enhancing laughing gas. No joke. So hang on for Horsepower TV.
All right, cut it. Hey, welcome to the shop. You know, Mustangs have played a part in racing ever since the beginning, whether it's drag racing or road racing like this classic Shelby here. Now, this one's been decked out for vintage road racing. Just check out that plexiglass rear window that's designed to vent air out of the cockpit. Now, on the inside of the cockpit, you're going to find a full roll cage and a brace of those classic Stewart Warner instruments. The outside's all business, too. Check out those PSE 5-spoke aluminum wheels mounting Hoosier racing rubber. Now, under the hood, well, we've got a 289 that cranks out about 450 horsepower thanks to a Holley carb mounted on an Edelbrock Victor Jr. intake. And, of course, the whole fuel mix is funneled into a pair of Dart heads.
Wow. Well, whether you're racing or just pro touring, we're all in the hunt for more horsepower, which brings us to today's project. When I bought this 65 Fastback, someone else had already swapped in a late model 5-liter and a 5-speed overdrive. But I got to tell you, after driving the car a while, I could tell both were a little bit weak. So today, we're going to jerk them both out to make way for this Ford Motorsport 351 Windsor that we'll later back with a Tremec heavy-duty overdrive. Now, you might remember this engine from a few months ago. We strapped it to our Land and Sea engine dyno during a small block crate motor shootout, and it pegged the horsepower needle at 406. And that ought to be enough to get the job done. What do you think?
Well, I think that's about enough talking or we'll never get this job done. Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and finish up on the battery while you drain the fluids, then we can both get on the hood. Then we can disconnect the carb and linkage, remove the radiator and fan, then disconnect the electrical connections.
Now, here's a tip for you. Make sure you tag all the electrical connections and hoses. That way you'll know where they go once the new engine's in. Well, now we can disconnect the exhaust, the clutch linkage at the back of the bell housing, the bell housing bolts, and finally the motor mount. Okay, looking good there. There we go. Hey, that wasn't so bad after all.
Hey, not so fast. We still have to get the transmission out, and you know what that means.
That means I better remove the console and the shifter, right?
You bet. I'll keep cranking here and get this thing out of the way.
Okay. Get this boot off and be ready to wrench. Okay, got the car up in the air and let's check things out. Well, looks like we're going to have to get rid of what's left of this H-pipe here so we can get to that transmission.
Hey, good job.
Hey, thanks.
And now that everything's clear under here, I can get to the transmission with our jack. And once I get it up, I can get started on that cross member.
Early model Mustangs use a front sump oil pan, while our Ford Motorsports 351 here uses a dual sump.
Let me get this out of your way.
Good idea, because we're going to swap that one out for this one we got from Canton Racing. It's a 7-quart pan with these side kickouts to give us plenty of clearance. Now, it's also got a scraper and internal baffling that keeps the oil away from the crank to reduce parasitic power losses.
Now, to make the whole deal work, you also need to order one of their special pickups. Now, it just bolts right here in place of the stalker.
All right, well, keep your place because we'll be back with more of our engine swap right after this.
Makes the hair on your arm stand up. I mean, it's a thrill. Enjoy the thrills when history repeats itself at the IHRA World Finals in Norwalk. Watch these monumental muscle cars compete in a heads-up top stock shootout later on Horsepower.
Hey, welcome back. You know, with the engine out, now is a great time to power wash, paint, and detail the engine compartment. After all, we don't want to throw that brand new engine into a pile of grease. So what we did was we went out and rented a portable power washer, and we left the car on the hoist so I can finish the job underneath later on.
And we're doing the same thing with accessory brackets and bolt-ons. We're transferring from the old motor to the new one. We got some detail paints from Eastwood, like this Alumablast, that make aluminum brackets look like they're brand new. And we got some detail gray here for parts that need a natural steel finish.
Hey, while everything's drying, I want you to check out these parts that we'll need to fit our taller and wider 351 into that engine compartment. Now, what we're using are frame and engine mounts from a 66 to 70 Mustang. Now, the frame mounts have been discontinued for some time, so we had our friends at John's Mustang send us these used ones. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to raise the engine up just a little bit to give us more clearance between the heads and the shock towers. And of course, they're also going to give us some more header clearance as well. Now, the rubber motor mounts, well, you can pick those up at the local parts store.
Speaking of headers, we chose these shorty headers from JBA. They've got a 3/8-inch flange for a leak-proof seal, and the tubing is extra thick 14 gauge with a ceramic metallic finish for long life. Now, because of the short primary tubes, shorties tend to exaggerate firing pulses, but this patented fire cone in here smooths it out, plus will help you boost your bottom end torque.
Well, we got the front of this engine looking pretty good. Now, before we add this bottom crank pulley, we need to use this 7/8-inch aluminum spacer that we got from Ford Motorsports. Now, what it's going to do is help us maintain the proper belt alignment on our serpentine drive system. Oh, and don't forget, you're also going to need to add longer bolts, at least grade 5, and give them a dab of thread lock before you tighten them down. Now, if you're going to be mounting an AC compressor like we will later on, you also need one of these special mounting brackets from Ford Motorsports. Again, that's because of that taller deck height on the 351.
A high-performance engine needs a high-performance ignition to keep it lit at wide-open throttle. Now, to get the job done, we chose Mallory's Unilite distributor, their ProMaster coil, Pro Sidewinder wires, and their Hi-Fire 6 control box. We chose this system because, well, the distributor's electronic, which means no adjusting points, and it has vacuum advance for better street mileage. This box here has a pair of rev limiters, a couple of RPM control switches, and several timing retard modes just in case we want to bolt on a supercharger or nitrous system.
Man, that's a lot of options to choose from. Now, the coil cranks out about 25% more voltage than the stalker does, and these 8mm wires are more than capable of carrying that load. The spiral wound core eliminates any radio interference and ignition crossfire. We're going to go ahead and mount the distributor now. We'll find a spot for the box and the coil once the engine's in.
Well, here's something else we won't be ready for till the engine's in place, but I had to show it to you anyway. It's Holley's latest street carb. Now, there used to be quite a big jump in vacuum secondary carbs from 600 to 750 CFM, but this one is 650. Plus, it has dual inlet bowls for a real racy look and electric choke. And tell you, Chuck, that chrome-like finish makes it look like a real showpiece.
I like it. Now, speaking of finish, well, we're about done with today's project. But I'll tell you what, next time we're going to drop the engine in and back it up with a Tremec 5-speed overdrive transmission.
Yeah, with any luck, you'll get to hear it run too, but don't run away now. More horsepower TVs ahead.
Horsepower TV's Race of the Week is brought to you by Wyotech, the nation's premier technical training school.
Hey, ready for a little racing history? Well, here's what happens when some of the top muscle cars in the country gather for the world's first heads-up top stock shootout.
It's not a bracket deal. You're not spending money to go, to hit the brakes on the other end and so forth. So it really gives everybody an opportunity to show what they've got.
Oh, it makes the hair on your arm stand up. I mean, it's a thrill.
Top stock is another name for factory-made muscle. It reminds us of a time when performance cars came off the assembly line ready to race. Those marvelous muscle cars shaped the backbone of American drag racing back in the 60s. Today, you'll find many of those great cars still competing in IHRA's stock eliminator class. Usually a ho-hum bracket class, but not this weekend at the Mopar Parts World Nationals in Norwalk.
Some of these are NHRA cars, IHRA cars, and they're anxious to have a platform. They're anxious to have a stage with which to perform on, and we hope to give them that.
Nothing's been done like this in stock eliminator that we know of in over 30 years, since the early 60s, when these cars were what it was about. And this is the grassroots of what everything else has evolved into today.
That's Mike Keener, the instigator of this historic shootout, who also races in this '69 Camaro. Mike is responsible for gathering some of the fastest top stockers in the nation and creating a level playing field for heads-up competition.
We created a weight break that we felt was common ground. It fits in between two classes where the A cars, for example, which are the fastest of the breed and stock, would add a little weight, and the B cars would be able to remove a little weight, and the C cars could remove even more weight, and so that we could all meet and converge at 8.25 pounds per factored horsepower rating and compete on a level playing field, sticks and automatics combined.
A Ford guy captured the top qualifying spot with a 1038 at 128 miles an hour in his '69 428 Cobra Jet.
I've raced heads up before, but only in class eliminations. But in a deal like this with a whole bunch of different kinds of cars, it's really fun. I felt like I won the race yesterday, but we'll have to see today.
The young man who may lead the Mopar charge this weekend is NHRA B-Stock record holder Jim Aloise, who qualified second in his Max Wedge 63 Belvedere.
You got 9-inch tires on it, and we pull some pretty serious 60-foots. I mean, it pulls the wheels pretty good. I mean, it'll pull a hell of a wheel stand. It really will. I mean, it's something to see these cars leave, and you're doing it on a stock suspension, so it's pretty incredible.
So the stage is set for an incredible history-making top stock shootout.
These are hard-hitting cars, wheel-standing cars. If we can get good air and have the track prepared right, it'll be exciting.
Rusty Hall's 68 Pony put Mike out in round one of eliminations, while Aloise ran the low ET of the round with an easy win over this '69 Super Bee. Later in round two, Waldo went down to Matt Morgan's Mustang by less than 100. Then Aloise in this solo pass runs top ET of the weekend with a 1037. But in round three, Al Corda's '99 Firebird pulls off an upset win, taking Joe's Mopar out of the running. Finally, under the lights at Norwalk Raceway Park, the final race, and a momentous matchup of modern muscle against nostalgic iron. And Corda's LS1 Bird takes the win with a 1042 at 120 miles an hour.
These Firebirds are just great race cars. They were able to hook up when some of the other guys weren't able to, and that's the best part of it. And of course, these fuel-injected computer cars are pretty consistent. That's kind of fun.
A fun weekend, and it just may be the beginning of a new chapter of old-time drag racing here in America.
There needs to be heads-up cars out there showing the public what we're really capable of and how fantastic these cars can really run with parts that were built 30 years ago.
Meanwhile, here are the winners of Pro Outlaw and Sportsman competition in the IHRA Mopar Parts World National.
Hey, welcome back. You know, over the years, nitrous oxide has been called a lot of things. Giggle gas, whiff, and spray are just a few of them. But it doesn't matter what you call it, the real bottom line is that nitrous is one of the most efficient and least expensive ways to make more horsepower. Nitrous oxide is comprised of 2 parts of nitrogen and 1 part oxygen. Now, during the combustion process, it's heated and the extra oxygen is released. Now, in typical plate systems like this one, nitrous is introduced through one bar, and at the same time, additional fuel is introduced through the other bar. Now, with that extra fuel and oxygen, you're going to have higher cylinder pressures and more power. Another benefit is the cooling effect of the nitrous as it goes from a liquid to a gas whenever it's released into the atmosphere. Now, that's going to give you a lot cooler and denser intake charge. And as a general rule of thumb, for every 10 degrees of cooling, you're going to get about 1% more horsepower. Now, as an example, a 70-degree drop on a 350 horse engine is going to give you about 25 more horsepower just on the cooling effect alone. You might have heard that nitrous will burn a motor down. Not true. In fact, most engine damage is caused by too lean a mixture or not enough fuel to go with the nitrous. Now, if you're running a mechanical pump like this one here, you want to make sure that it'll be capable of maintaining at least 7 psi. Otherwise, an electric pump like this one from Holley is not a bad idea. Of course, higher cylinder pressures mean you'll need a hotter spark to light it off. In other words, the old points-type distributor probably isn't going to cut it anymore, and what we suggest is a high-output electronic system like this one from Mallory. Well, nitrous has become such a popular power enhancer that it's created its own industry. All kinds of kits are available, from this basic undercarb plate system to this emission-legal upgrade for late-model injected cars. Hey, they even have kits so you can plumb your own intake manifold and add multiple stages. Plus, if you're weight conscious, just check out this carbon fiber bottle. Now, even with nitrous, the old saying holds true: speed costs money. How fast do you want to go? Well, don't you go away. We've got hot parts right after this.
Horsepower TV's Hot Parts, a close-up look at the latest in high-performance hardware.
Hey, since we've been in a Mustang mode today, here's something for you guys with 79 to 93 Fox bodies. These track lift bars from Chassis Engineering bolt right up to replace your lower control arms and help you harness more horsepower. This spring pocket here is engineered to work with your stock spring, and they include a mount here for the original sway bar. The price just might sway you too at about $160.
Hey, if you want to get more air into your engine, sometimes you just have to go to the extreme, and that's just what K&N has named their new line of high-flow air filter lids. Now, they use the same washable filtering media that K&N has become famous for, plus they allow a straight shot of air right into the carburetor. Now, the metal lids are available in chrome, red, blue, and black, so now you can be color coordinated while you're making more power. Prices for the lids start at about $50.
Say, we can't totally forget you Chevy guys this weekend. In fact, if you got a late model LT1 Camaro or Firebird, this fluid damper will help reduce engine vibrations and harmonics to give you more horsepower and longer engine life. Now, it comes already grooved for your stock serpentine drive belt and bolts right up to replace the original. Now, if you bulk right out to get one, though, better carry about $370.
Well, you better stick close to your TV next week, because we got a heck of a show lined up. Check this out.
It's test and tune time for our Bel Air Bracket Racer. We'll take you to the track and show you some tuning tips for better ETs. We'll handle the cooling and fueling for our chassis buildup, along with headers, exhaust, and more. Finally, horsepower as a music video, you'll see and hear for yourself.
And remember, high performance fun is what this show is all